thank you for joining me again today. So what I thought we would look at now is down dog, working in towards down dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, and also seeing about if we can taking one leg up. So it's always this idea that there's a progression to whatever we do. So with any kind of progression, there's a journey. So we start at the beginning. So with down dog and with any kind of yoga position really, we start with that perception of the ground beneath us and how that impacts on the body, our body as we are right now. So you always work as though it's for the first time, as though we are a beginner. So then it's that idea that we come into contact with how our body feels right now. Because each day we wake up, each moment that we're alive, things change. So being aware of how your body is now is vital for health and learning to move in a fluid, calm, quiet way. So always being aware of yourself. So if I say something that doesn't feel quite right, you let your body is your teacher. Your feelings are your teacher. So if we come into all fours, if we start in all fours, so your wrists more or less underneath your shoulders and your knees more or less underneath your hips, and just shake off one wrist at a time. And you don't have to look at what I'm doing, you can just listen to the words that I say and just feel how that impacts on your body. And then lift up one knee at a time, just seeing how that feels through the knees. And if you need to pad the knees up, if you need to make yourself comfortable in a different way, then that's how we can work. If it gets really uncomfortable on your wrists, you can come onto your knuckles, or you can work on your elbows and just kind of change it around a little bit. So move. Always know that you have that ability and that knowledge that you can change position. So if we take our attention to our right hand and just lift the right wrist up, so you're on the tips of the fingers, and just move the arm round a little bit, move the shoulder, move your jaw. Always kind of know that the whole upper part of your spine connects all the way through the top of the head, the centre of the waist and beyond. And then just let the wrist come down, and then turn the palm up, turn the right palm up, move the elbow, move the shoulder, and then stop. Do the same with the left. Bring up the left wrist, here on the left fingertips, move the elbow, the wrist, the shoulder. Just trying to free these movements up, and move your neck, move your jaw. Then stop, then turn the left palm up, and then again moving that part of your arm. So we're trying to free ourselves of tensions. There's no point trying to go into big movements or to do large weight bearing things on our body if our muscles and our joints aren't free enough in order to take the weight. And then just place the hand, replace the left hand back onto the floor, and then move both wrists, the elbows, the shoulders, and then in the opposite direction, both wrists, feeling that through the wrists, the elbows and the shoulders. And then stop. And we're just going to turn the right fingertips, they're facing towards the left. You're going to turn the left fingertips, they're facing towards the left. Move the elbows, maybe bring the knees a little bit closer in, and just ease the hips back towards the heels. Just kind of noticing how that feels in your shoulders. Then turn the palms or the fingertips forward and turn to the right. Move the elbows, move the shoulders. So we're just trying to work into the shoulders with these movements. And then bring the fingertips back, and now turn both fingers towards so they face each other. Bring up the hips, maybe just walk the knees back a little bit, and then just see, can you ease your hips back towards your heels, but can you keep your wrists down? Can you keep the wrists down? And then come back up, and now turn the fingertips forward and turn the fingertips out from each other. And then again, can you ease the hips back towards the heels? Just see how that feels. And then come back up. Shake off the wrists, shake off the arms. And then we're just going to allow the top of the head to hang round the spine. Round spine. Breathe in, breathe in. And then as you breathe out, let go. Let go, sink between the shoulders and sink at the back of the waist. And then just carrying on just a few times, rounding your spine. And as you draw up away from the floor, feeling the lightness in the wrists. And as you sink down towards the floor, feel the weight go down into the wrists, down into the knees. So really coming into contact with the feelings inside your body. So not just moving mindlessly or blindly, but just feeling what's happening on the inside as you move and also as you breathe. That's how movements become meditations, become true awareness. And then we're just going to again just take our attention back to our hands, and this time we're just going to roll onto the outside edges of the fingers, little finger side, and then just roll the wrists up, and just do that a few times, just rolling through the wrists, rolling through the arms, and just seeing how that feels in your shoulders. So you're taking the weight back towards your knees, you're taking the weight back away from. So you can experiment as well if you can lift your hands, so then you might feel something sort of core deep inside your abdomen start to work as well. And then just come to centre, and then we're just going to rock the hips from side to side. Just rock your hips so you can feel the weight go down into one wrist at a time, one knee at a time. So we're just kind of establishing our balance really. And then we're just going to circle the hips. So just circling the hips, whichever way you've gone, circling the hips. So you're easing into the lower back. And as you circle forward, the top of the head goes forward, weight goes into the wrist. As you circle back, the weight goes back towards the heels. So you're circling forward, round and back. So just mobilising your body, just gently starting to warm up. Mobilise the hips, the knees, the wrists, the shoulders. And maybe the top of the head goes a little bit further forward. Maybe the top of the spine, hips go a little bit further back. But just seeing where you can go. So your body is your teacher. And you just work with the way that you can. And then just circle in the opposite direction, circling round. And if you close your eyes, really being aware, circle to the right, the weight goes down into the right wrist, fingertips, and back round to the left. And can you be aware of the whole of the hand, not just the wrists, but the outside edges of the hands, the inside edges, the fingertips, the arch in the palm of the hand. So you don't have to flatten your hand. There's an arch in the palm of the hand. There's an arch between the thumb and the first finger. There's an arch in the centre of the wrist. And then just come back to centre. Come back to centre. Allow the top of the head to hang, round spine. And then just do the opposite, sink between the shoulders, sink at the back of the waist. And then just carrying on, so rounding the spine, coming up between the shoulder blades, and you will feel the pelvis round. And then you can sink between the shoulder blades, sink at the back of the waist, and you'll feel the tailbone lift. So just being aware of that movement of your spine. So you can slow it down, you don't have to do these things in a fast way. The benefits of anything is it comes more when we slow ourselves down, not speed ourselves up. So we come outside of that usual mode of doing, where we're always having to constantly complete lists. At this moment in time, you can stop, maybe slow down a little bit more. And then just come back to centre, just kind of readjusting the feet or the knees and the hands. And then we're just going to take our attention to the right leg, and we're just going to send the right leg back. Just send the right leg back. Rock the heel from side to side. And as you rock the heel, you can feel that movement through the hip. And seeing how that feels. And then stop, and then bring the knee back. Send the left leg back. As you rock the left heel to side, you can feel that movement through the hip. You feel that movement through the shoulders, even through the wrists. And then come back to centre. Send the top of the head forward, past the fingertips. Bring the hips back towards the heels. So now you're just rocking forward and back. Just having that sense that the whole of your body connects. And where are you sending that movement from? As you send the top of the head forward, as you bring the hips back, can you take your attention to the centre of your spine? The centre of the spine sends the top of the head forward. The centre of the spine, base the ribs, back of the waist, sends the hips back. Then eventually maybe you can go all the way back towards your heels, just seeing if that's comfortable. Elbows come closer towards the knees, move the shoulders, make light fists with the hands just to support the head, or perhaps maybe the forehead might go a little bit lower to one fist, or the forehead might come all the way down to the floor. Just kind of seeing where's doable for you, and just resting there for a few moments, just being with and feeling your breath, and knowing that you don't have to rush or doing anything like that. And you can turn off the video or the recording anytime you like, and just spend a little bit more time doing one particular thing. And then coming up back into all fours when you're ready. Back into all fours when you're ready. So we're going to work back with the legs. So if you send the right leg back, Now if you push your heel away, that sends the whole weight of your body away. If you draw the heel in towards the hip, that can send the top of the head forward. Just rock the body just using your heel. Rock the body using the heel and then stop. And now if you bend the knee, just let the knee drop. Let the knee drop, so that lets the weight of the hip sink down. So now just draw, imagine there's strings at the back of the knee, drawing the knee up to draw the hip up, to lift the leg. The leg starts to lift, but feeling that connection to deep inside the hip. Now if you push the leg away, that pushes and that stretches the hip. Imagine there's someone's behind you pushing the heel in towards the hip, in towards the hip, in towards the centre of the spine, coming up through the back of the waist. And that's what takes the leg a little bit higher. You're not pushing into the hands, maybe you can just allow a sense of feeling. So imagine you're going to lift the wrists up. Imagine you're going to lift the wrists up. Imagine the back of the shoulders are coming up. And then the leg might go a little bit higher. But we find the spine. And then lower. Ease the hips back towards the heels. Make sure you're breathing. So we're going to come back into all fours. Send the left leg back. So if you push the heel away, that sends the weight of your body back, and it's a stretch through the back of the leg. So we try and, with these movements, ultimately, you know, can feel the stretch and it's okay, stretch, but ultimately we try not to stretch. So now let go of stretching, rock the heel from side to side. When we stop stretching, we'll get more movement in the joints. So now just imagine you can draw that heel in towards the hip. Draw the heel in towards the hip. Let the shoulders widen, rest, settle. And then just imagine there are strings at the back of the knee, strings at the back of the hip or the buttock, and you draw up. Those strings are drawing the leg up. So you might feel something inside the belly start to lift. So you're feeling as though you're coming up away from the floor. Try not to push into the hands. Is there a sense that we can come up through the hands, through the wrists into the shoulders? Up through, and that will take the leg a little bit higher. And then lower. And ease the hips back towards the heels. Make light fists with the hands just to support the head. Widen your elbows perhaps, widen the elbows, and in this position take your attention to the back of the neck, the area between the shoulder blades, and the muscles of your neck extend all the way through to the centre of your spine. So the whole shoulder girdle as well is included in those muscles, or attached to those muscles I should say. So the area between the shoulder blades at the base of the neck, can you just imagine, or can you just work with the idea that you can draw up, you round that part of your body. And that will allow the pelvis to round a little bit more as well. And that will allow the top of the head to come down towards the floor. So we're coming up between the shoulder blades, rounding the spine to go into quite a strong child's pose. So you're not just collapsing, you're working all the muscles of the spine. Make sure you're breathing, and then let go. So that movement is a flexion movement, so the spine rounds, it's like a forward bend. So when we go into down dog, it's a forward bend. So when we work with those muscles there, when we become aware, when we have an attention or a focus or a sense of being able to make this part here alive, down dog and those kind of positions take on a whole new meaning. So if you come into all fours and we work into down dog using all the movements that we've been working with, just kind of not forgetting them, but being aware that they're all relevant to the whole practice. So we come on to the tips of the toes if it's okay. I mean, you can tuck the toes under, or you can kind of whatever, but the feet want to be as light as possible. Your hands want to be as light as possible. So you're not starfishing or spreading the fingers, because if you spread your fingers, if you spread the fingers and push down into the hands, you're going to feel your shoulders tense up. So relax the hands. Fold the fingers in, push the fingers away. Shake them off. Relax your hands. Relax the arm. We want to feel connected from the hand below to the shoulder above to the spine. So the hands lightly placed, and remember there's an arch in the palm of the hand. There's an arch between the first finger and the thumb. There's an arch in the wrist. So when we place that hand, we respect the arch of the hand. We respect that part of our body. So then when you're ready, we can just maybe work into it in different ways. We can rock the top of the head forward a little bit, and you feel the weight go down into the hand. You don't have to push, the weight goes down anyway. And then we can rock the hips a little bit back towards the heels. Notice how the thighs feel, how the hips feel. Just rock forward and back a few times. Just kind of get that sense of movement. And the feeling that you don't have to push the weight down. You can just feel the weight start to transfer. And then just where you perceive to be centre, come back to centre. Now your spine, base the ribs, back of the waist, is central between the thighs and the wrists. The collarbones, the base of the throat and the thighs. Now can we make that space between the collarbones and the fronts of the thighs or the knees as long as possible, as far, far away as possible? So can you imagine the crown of the head moving forward as the tailbone or the base of the spine just lengthens away. And then ever so carefully between the shoulder blades at the base of the neck, can you just ever so carefully draw up ever so slightly? And then lift your knees. So you're coming up away from the floor, not forward or back, you're coming up away from. Lightly position the feet, and with that sense of coming up underneath the ribs, between the shoulder blades, allow the weight of the spine or the weight of the tailbone to rest down, down, down towards the heels. So we're not pushing the heels down, it's the movement forward through the top of the head, leaving the shoulders behind as the spine starts to lengthen downwards. And it's that rounding of the tailbone back towards the heels that sends the heels down. If you feel yourself sink from deep inside underneath the ribs, you lift, you lift. There's that feeling coming up away from the floor. Between the shoulder blades you round, widen, and imagine the top of the head moving forward, 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 past the fingertips. So try to get a feeling of long, long spine from deep inside underneath the ribs. You lift. Make as much space in the front of the hips as possible. And then ever so carefully when you're ready, lift your heels to bring your knees down and just ease back into child's pose. So your heels don't have to go on the floor, the heels are just going towards it and beyond the floor. Imagine your heels as far, far away from your wrists as possible. So we try to find as much length in our spine as possible. So if it's okay, let's go again. So come into all fours, shake off the wrists, and obviously you don't have to hold as long as I kind of say. So lift up one knee at a time, and now just imagine with the knees down, imagine what does it feel like if you were going to lift them? Imagine you could lift the knees coming up from the floor. Imagine what it would feel like if you were going to lift your wrists. You might get something inside your spine already start to respond, I suppose. There's that chain reaction from those small incremental feelings or movements that we can make inside our body. And then when you're ready, if it's okay, lift your knees. So you're not pushing the knees back or forward, we're just lifting them. We're widening between the knees, a feeling of space between the knees. They're not coming together. We're trying to make as much space at the back of the knees as possible to allow the heels to rest down towards the floor. And imagine the heels extending beyond the mat, away from you. Then from inside underneath the ribs, can we get that feeling of coming up away from the floor, widening between the shoulders? Imagine the space between the elbows becoming wider. Try not to push into your hands because the weight goes down anyway. We're coming up away from the hands. Free up the neck and allow the top of the head to move forward. Let it go, let the neck go, because that allows the lower back to rest. And then that whole sense of rounding through the tailbone, because it's a rounded kind of, the tailbone is rounded, that rests down towards the heels. We're not trying to go against our body, we're just trying to work with our body. Between the shoulder blades we're drawing up, and then just see, if you take your attention to your right heel, if we can draw the right heel in towards the right hip, and that's what takes the leg up. If you feel yourself pushing down into the hands, draw back away from. So we're coming up away from the floor as the right leg perhaps might start to lift. Free up the neck, free up the neck. There's a whole sense of coming up away from the floor, widening through the shoulders. And the weight of the leg that's above you rests down into the hip that's below. And the hands that are resting on the floor, there's a feeling of coming up away from, back towards the centre of your spine. And you breathe. And then just lower when you're ready, if you haven't already. And then just knees come down, ease the hips back towards the heels, and settle. And it's quite, well, it is a big movement. You can feel it in your body, and it shapes us up. It's a big inversion. So just really allow everything to settle, and notice those echoes but just stay in our body for a few moments. But land, allow everything to land. And then let's just do the same on the other side. Or you can repeat that again. You can stop the recording. You can kind of do whatever feels right for your practice today. So let's go on to the other side. So we come into all fours. Now just imagine you're going to lift the wrists. Imagine you're going to lift the knees. The whole sense of coming up through the centre of the spine to lift both knees physically off the floor. And there's that sense of coming up from the floor. Between the shoulder blades at the base of the neck, that part there always wants to feel quite rounded, if anything. And then the space between the collarbones or base of the throat and the thighs wants to be as far, far away as possible as the heels go down, but you're not pushing the heels. You might find that they just might go. Think of making more space in the back of the knees and space around the ankles. And that feeling coming up through the centre of the foot, that's what takes the heels far, far away. From inside underneath the ribs, we lift widening through the shoulders, widening between the shoulder blades. And then if you want to take one leg up, if you take the left heel up, can we do that without making a nuisance of it with the rest of the body? So as the leg comes up, the weight of the leg is coming in towards the hip, back towards the hip. So we're not sending the leg away from the spine, we're trying to give it back towards the spine. From inside underneath the ribs, is that their feeling that we can come up? Can we come up? From inside through the wrists, can we feel as though we can draw up, back towards the shoulders? So we're not trying to push down into the floor. Take your attention to the base of the right big toe, the foot that's on the floor. Use the foot on the floor to send the leg up, the left leg up a little bit more. And as the leg lifts, the weight of the leg always rests back down towards the spine. And that's what sends the spine forward. And that's how we find length. And you breathe. And you really feel what's happening in your body. And then just come out when you're ready, lower, ease back into child's pose and rest. And you might find out that your forehead might easily come onto the floor. And then take your attention again to the back of your body, feel the breath in the back of your body. Elbows closer towards the knees, or the hands can be supporting the head. And you just feel your breath, yourself, as you are right now. And then you can, if you like, just turn and rest onto your back, or you can repeat the practice again. Just kind of see what feels right for you. But always with that idea that you work in a way that feels careful, mindful, and appropriate to how you feel in this moment. So thank you for joining me.